Hello everyone. I want to make a quick review of the Xperia 1 Mark II, but since there are tons of other reviews just kind of going over the phone, I really wanted to explain why I've been using Xperia phones for the last 7.5 years, starting from the Xperia Z Ultra to the Xperia Z Premium and now the 1 Mark II. I also just have an iPhone 6 Plus here in comparison. It's both a 5.5 inch screen for the XZ Premium. That's really why I just wanted to show it, just a size comparison. So I'm going to put this to the side for now. These are really the two phones I want to talk about. And as I said, instead of just making a review talking about the device, which there are plenty of, I want to explain why Sony Xperia, why go with this brand and whatnot. So actually the first Sony phone I had was the Xperia X1. It was probably like 2004 or 2005 or something like that. And around that time I was kind of more of a smartphone geek. I went through almost every brand. I had the first Galaxy Note. So I remember when I brought back the Galaxy Note to the States, when I first had it, literally if I was in a line for coffee, 3 people would ask me what device this is. It was just, and that was only, I believe it was actually only a 5.2 inch screen. So at that point, 5.2 inches was so large that literally like every single day I would be bugged asking, what am I holding? This is an era where people had 3.5 inch and 4 inch screens were large. So obviously 5.2 was pretty large. Around that time came out the Xperia Z Ultra. Now this phone was unlike anything else, and I'm going to show a picture of it because there are a couple reasons why it was just completely unlike anything else. And I like to sometimes press with my boundaries. I like to try devices that I'm not sure if I would actually like. So I was at an Engadget event in Boston, and literally from across the room I saw the screen, and I knew exactly what it was right away. I walked up to this guy, I checked it out, maybe like 30 seconds or so, and then I really wasn't sure, so I just decided, you know what, I'm just going to go for it. I'm going to get the accidental damage warranty. If anything, I'm single, I have a full-time job, I'll sell it, it's not a big deal. Let me just tell you, when I got this device, it was unreal. I mean, 6.44 inches, it's incredible. There's nothing literally like it. Not only that, the phone is so thin that in fact, like, even the new XZ 1 Mark II is fat compared to it. It was that remarkable, and I'm going to show an image kind of showing really how thin it is, because it's straight up, there's unlike anything that was that thin, that big, and had the new Snapdragon 800 processor, and had 2 gigs of RAM, had 16 gigs of storage, which was all fine, and it literally just had 2 flaws. One of them, which is massive, the camera was just awful. So the rear camera was awful and had no LED light. Those were the only 2 flaws. Everything else was just spectacular. For example, we're talking about these new phones and they're removing the 3.5 millimeter jack. I just want to point out that the Z Ultra is literally thinner than any device out on the market today. And it had a headphone jack. Same with the 1 Mark II. And I would not have bought this phone if it didn't have a 3.5 millimeter jack, as I use it regularly. And the thing is, even if I didn't, I would not want to be in a situation or place, I was at a friend's house or just anywhere where there's a 3.5 millimeter port, I want to play some music, and I can't do that. Why not? If there's no concrete reason, there's no, like, for example, the phone is actually thinner than the jack, then okay, but there's no way I am losing features for no reason at all. So after 3.5 years of the Z Ultra, I dropped it twice. I had the accidental damage warranty, so they ended up replacing it twice. But I mean, it wasn't cheap, and it was worth it. And it was the first time I really got to experience a truly premium device. This is what I want to make this video about, explaining what it is that's premium about these devices, because it's not just the specs or what you see on paper, it's the pure engineering that goes into them. And one thing I just want to say, if you're buying a Sony smartphone, or in general a Sony product, make sure you're buying the most expensive and best one, because if you're not, you're getting a gimped device. So the 1 Mark II obviously and the XZ Premium are both top of the line, top of the class. They have the newest technology and the highest quality engineers designing them. So for example, just to point out, the XZ Premium, same with this and the Z Ultra, they're both perfectly balanced on the center. So you can almost put it in a pencil and balance this device. Who goes through the effort to simply do this on a phone? For example, when you put in a headphone jack, a 3.5 millimeter jack in the headphones, the sound that comes out is phenomenal. I don't know if you've had other smartphones before, you put in a headphone jack, the sound just kind of sounded flat, and the music wasn't great. When you're buying this device, everything about it is premium. It's build quality, all the features, functions, the design. Someone thought about every single piece. And this is why I've had the Z Ultra for over 3.5 years. And when I was done with it, I gave it to one of our store clerks here. He needed a secondary phone to talk with his family in India. And I gave it to him, and a year and a half later, it was still being used. The guy no longer works there, but so over almost 5 years after I purchased the phone, it was still being used. Had no lag. It was perfect. Sure, there are some junk apps on these devices. There are pretty much in all of them, but this has significantly less than any of the competitors. So like, there are only a couple of apps you need to close out, disable, and you're good to go. And like I said, I really want to point out that it is difficult to explain that it's not just specs. For example, I was not a big fan of the glass back. The glass back it's very good. It makes a device strong. It makes it waterproof. It also makes it shiny and nice. And I think it's a perfect material for just both sides of the device, because it's just you're kind of mixing utility with style. And this is where the X1 Mark II comes in. So for example, I was also not quite sure about this device. Obviously, it's extremely expensive, and the problem was that the XZ Premium is still an absolutely excellent device. I mean, there's no lag in this phone. It's a Snapdragon 835, and I just want to point out that between the devices goes from Snapdragon 800 with the Z Ultra, now 835 for the XZ Premium, and I believe it's the 865 for the 1 Mark II. So each processor is a major step forward. And also, one reason you guys might not know about these phones overall is that Sony literally does not advertise. So for example, this phone has a full 4K display. I remember when I was Googling it, it was talking, there's like one of those websites, it's just like the top 10 phones with the best screen, whatnot. And this phone wasn't even listed on it, and it has the highest resolution screen of all the phones on that list when it came out. It's things like that. It's just somehow these devices, they're not shown anywhere. For example, this has that 960 FPS camera. The camera quality on the camera itself is phenomenal. People literally up until 2 months ago still asked me if I took photos using this device or if I had a camera or whatnot. As you can see, I formatted and wiped this phone, but everything on it is just instant. There's no lag of any kind. Literally, actually, the only thing that stopped working on this is the speakerphone, and I believe this is because I used so much hand sanitizer that it simply destroyed the speakerphone during this whole COVID thing. But I really just wanted to show that after over 3 years, this device straight up didn't age. Had the accidental damage warranty, and I always recommend getting it when you're buying a premium product. Just to say, on, I think, day 3, I dropped this phone and it fell on a sharp engine piece pointing up and broke the screen. So on day 3, I had it replaced, but since then, I've used the case and I've dropped it millions of times. It's never had a problem. And I just want to point out, all these devices are fine without a case as long as you don't have kids. If you have kids, just get a case. So I'm just trying to go over when you spend a lot of money and you're getting the accidental damage warranty, when you're getting a product that is truly kind of designed, not so much from this is the newest Galaxy or whatever device, just when to flood that phone with 50 million apps, everything is going to be designed to get you to buy the next one. It doesn't feel like that way with Sony. It doesn't really advertise. The company just, when you buy something premium from them, it is premium. Never buy a cheaper product from this company, because it's not what they do. They are a premium device manufacturer. And every single day, you'll be made happy using this phone. They said over 3 years. Thing works like it's day one. Yeah, the speakerphone broke, but that's it. I've used this every minute. It's fallen in the water. It's been rained on. I've literally taken almost no care of it. I just used it to its full extent. And this is kind of where the Xperia 1 Mark II comes out. And I want to talk about it a little bit, just because, for example, when the XZ Premium came out, for example, the Z Ultra had 16 gigs of storage, and at that point, you pretty much couldn't even install apps because it just got old. The XZ Premium, it really hasn't gotten old. In fact, the first time I bought a new phone after 3.5 years, the X1 Mark II is an awesome upgrade. You can't deny all the specs, everything about it. It's super fast, screen's great, the audio quality is phenomenal. It's pretty much improved in every single category over this. But saying all that, it's not like light and day. For example, back in the day, if You purchased the phone 3 years later. There was no comparison whatsoever. And here there is. It's honestly, it's not that big of an improvement. And looking at the phone prices these days, like I think this phone still sells for like $500 or $600 now. So coming from that perspective, this is an excellent device, but things have slowed down, and I think you could pretty easily use this phone for another 1 or 2 years without any problem. Now, a couple other things. I'm going to show the screenshot of the comparison of the Ultra, the XZ, and this device. And I know it's easier to use with one hand because it's thinner, or it's narrower, but it just, I don't say, like, I would rather have this be the same size as the Z Ultra and have the screen be something like 7.2 inches instead of having this be 6.44, having it be narrower, and just having it be a smaller device, because it's just small enough. There's, like, I'd rather have it be bigger, have more space, and it just be a giant phone. Just, so I know for some of you folks that might be not too tall or have smaller hands, I think this makes a big difference, but for me, I almost wish the phone was wider by itself. Hello everyone. So yesterday, as I kind of just went over talking about a premium device, what buying a high quality Xperia smartphone really feels like, and why it lasts, and why I truly think it's 100, probably 200% worth the cost, especially if you're planning to use the device for a long time. There's one thing I don't really like, and this is the case for all these new phones with many cameras. I don't like the fact that the camera has a big bump. This basically means you can't use this device without a case. I'm honestly like afraid to even place it down right now to show, because all it takes is just one drag and you ruin the cameras, and that's it. So one thing I've been kind of working on, I'm going to put it down upside down, is this little 3D printed, currently it's just taped on here as I've been trying to size it up, but essentially it's a little 3D printed flap that covers and goes over all three cameras, and essentially what it does is it creates the same situation as the Xperia, or any old phone, the Xperia XZ Premium, where each lens is in its own little hole. That way, if, for example, you drag something sharp or something that would scratch the cameras across this, even with this case, you could scratch all three cameras in one go. And with this idea is that because each port has its own little hole, you're not very likely to scratch more than even one lens, even if you scratch one. This is something it's kind of worrisome, because when you spend this much money on a device and it has this huge area here that it can straight up just be scratched in seconds and ruin all these cameras. And I have the warranty, so I guess that's nice, but it's still, when you smash your phone and you use the warranty, that's one thing. If the camera has a scratch, you can use the warranty, but it's clearly not as big of an issue, and it's something I really don't want to happen, especially with a camera that's this good. So this is kind of why I made this little contraption. As I said, I'm testing it, so it doesn't look great just yet, but when you put the device in, you can see all the cameras fit the little hole. Everything works perfectly, and at the moment, the only issue I'm having is that there's a slight gap below this white plastic, so it does kind of very easily collects in this area where the lenses are, and just slightly around it under the white plastic. So this is currently the only issue, so I have to adjust it so that there's no space, and when the plastic goes on, it's perfectly fit on top, and there's no gap in between. But I've been really happy with this little thing I made. It makes me feel much more safe to just kind of toss the phone or put it somewhere where there might be like rocks or something like that. And that's just something to be aware of. And I think this is the case for pretty much all these new phones with 3, 4, 5, 6 cameras. And other than that, I also just want to note, if you're not familiar with the Xperia fingerprint reader, for example, the same as on the XZ Premium, it is on the button. It's just fantastic. You literally just put your finger on the phone and it unlocks. There's no different button you press. And in fact, on the XZ, the One Mark II, you don't even have to press the button. You literally just put your finger on the button and the phone turns on. You don't have to physically press the button, which is really cool. And this just makes a big difference, because it's not an additional place. You're not putting your fingerprints somewhere else to unlock your phone. You just use it as normal. You don't even think about it. You just take out your device and it works. It's unlocked. Fingerprint sensor activated. So that's really it. There are really cons: price, the fact that you can easily scratch the cameras. The display is not that bright, but on the other hand, as all three of these devices, the color accuracy and it's a very pleasant color to look at. It's not something you might be used to, like a Samsung phone where everything's blown out, everything's bright. You might look at it right away and be like, wow, that looks great, but it really doesn't. It just kind of looks flashy. These Xperia devices, the color looks natural, it looks pleasant on the eyes, it doesn't feel overly bright, it doesn't, if you're reading something when it's dark, it feels natural, and I think that's very important. I'd much rather have that more than just kind of flashy colors that from further back it looks better, but it really isn't. So if you're on the fence about buying this device, like I said, I really think if you have a good device right now, you might want to wait a little longer, but if your phone is 3+ years old, go for it. Because in the long run, you're paying yourself to save frustration, annoyances. You're just going to have the best of the best every day. You're not going to need more, want more. You're not going to deal with any BS and annoyances, and you'll be set to go, whether it's rain or shine, or you fall in the water, or you take a video or photo, anything. So yeah, hope this helps. As I said, this is not really that technical of a review. It's more just kind of my overall opinion comparing Xperia devices, why I really, really like them, why I really recommend them, and just my general thoughts of using this phone. So this is really what I want to point out, is that I think the One Mark II is a perfectly fantastic device. And it's a great upgrade if you've had an older device, but I think if you have a fairly newer device, unless you're really looking for camera features or pretty much camera features, I think it doesn't offer that much. For example, everything about it is good. It's the same as all the Z Ultra and the XZ Premium. They all pretty much have the same review in terms of battery life. I think the battery life is very good. The one negative of this device is the screen is harder to read during the sunlight or when it's sunny outside. The XZ and the Ultra were fantastic. It didn't matter how bright it would be. It would be easy to read, especially the Ultra. And all in all, it just... yeah, it's my 2 cents. If you're on the fence and you still have a fairly new device, I would hold off. If you're not on the fence and you have an older device, make sure you get accidental damage warranty. It's worth spending every penny. You're going to be happy for every minute of use for the next 3+ years. Just think about every minute that you might have to deal with some sort of annoying app. Any minute you're dealing with lag, any minute this is your life. You're wasting your own life to be frustrated, annoyed, and all in all, in the end, if you use it for multiple years, the price is actually very low. Just think about how much it is per day. You're not spending a lot at all. So if you want no frustrations, you want the best build quality you can pretty much possibly find anywhere. You want someone to actually go and perfectly balance your device, just because, why not? Why don't you want a device that's perfectly balanced? I do. So this is what you pay for. You really, it's difficult to explain on paper. When you pick up your premium Xperia device and you use it daily, it'll make you smile every day. It'll make you happy every day. For every day till the last day I use this device, it's perfect. And in fact, I often question myself, why necessarily did I get this? Although I didn't need an upgrade, and it's time for this to be retired as a backup phone. But just all in all, don't be dealing with annoying apps. Don't be dealing with products that are designed to be obsolete and just so you can buy a new one. Spend the extra few dollars, get the warranty, don't ever have a problem, be happy every day for years of use. I think that's worth every penny, at least it is to me.